So we're doing, we're going straight into episode 6.
Okay,
this time.
Before we do,
How you guys feeling?
Yeah, good.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Have a little sip of juice.
Getting caffeinated.
Got to keep hydrated.
Yeah.
Hydrate
then caffeinate.
I've actually started taking these like electrolytes.
Oh yeah.
To stay hydrated. My PT. Lucas. Shout out to Lucas. Coach Parker on Instagram.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'd like to get him on at some point actually to talk about the importance of fitness in entrepreneurship and business.
Big topic.
Like looking after yourself.
Yeah.
He put me through a session yesterday and beasted me.
Good.
It was horrible, but anyway. So episode 6, British Business with Matt Holland and my co-host Tom Mcilvenny.
Oh, very close. I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. 99% of the way there.
I've succeeded in life. I got that one right. So this episode, Tom, we're talking about risk, failure, and the decisions that keep you up at night.
Oh God, right? Okay, yeah.
But I think it's basically about kind of like risk taking and the importance of going for it.
Yeah.
And knowing when to go for it and when not to go for it.
Yeah.
Listen to your gut.
Yeah.
Those really important things. I think risks is something that when you're starting out in business, it can be very nerve-wracking. Like you've got to be, and I think it's a skill, getting comfortable with taking risks.
Yes, very much so.
Like it comes to some people more naturally than others. So I think we'll talk through it. We've got our notes that have been prompted by ChatGPT.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to our
AI
friend of the podcast.
Yeah.
I think it's great. That last episode we did, episode 5, it'd be good to, because obviously we're doing batch recording today.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to hear the feedback when we come to film again on whether or not people think the episodes were better structured.
Yeah.
I suspect ChatGPT has done a better job than I have.
I thought you did an amazing job on the first 4 episodes.
Well, it's progress, isn't it?
Exactly. It's all about the learning curve.
In the comments, please put whether you prefer AI organised podcast episodes or Matt organised. Bearing in mind I've got ADHD and I'm very disorganised. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch on friend of the podcast, James Starkey.
Okay, yeah.
We discussed a couple of his questions on the previous episode, but because he's put so many great ones, I thought we'd just dip straight into some things that he's asked about
go for it.
on this episode. So we touched on government and challenges. That was the last question he asked on the previous episode, which was really interesting. But this is a great one. If you could go back to your earlier days, what's the one thing that you'd encourage your old self to do more of or go harder on? What worked for you that's proven to be a success? So my interpretation of that question is kind of like if you could jump in a time capsule time machine, not capsule. I don't want to go in the ground and be stored for 100 years.
Definitely not.
I wouldn't look very good. Not that I look good now. I think basically like what advice would you give to yourself? And I think that's a deep.
It is a deep question.
That's a deep question. Thanks for that, James.
Yeah, well done.
That's the new topic for this episode.
Yeah, we'll cover that for 45 minutes.
We'll cover that for 45
minutes.
Thank you,
James. So interesting, what advice would you give your self?
Yeah.
Let's say
when you were starting out.
Yeah, at the beginning of your journey, so 10
years ago.
10 years ago plus. What would you
So for me,
say?
I would my biggest advice to myself is believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself big time, and listen to your gut. Mm-hmm. They are the two things.
Yeah, your instinct.
And we could spend a full podcast discussing that.
Yeah.
That's deep for me. And I think if I look at my entrepreneurial journey and my professional career, I'm still today crippled a little bit with self-doubt.
Yeah.
Where I really struggle with my confidence sometimes, and I question whether or not, like, I'll do something and I'll have a conversation or I'll make a decision and then I'll immediately question myself. Mm-hmm. That kind of, a little bit of like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, we've touched on that.
So for me, I'd have a quiet word, put my arm around myself and I'd be like, listen, Matt, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And I think Like maybe we can be that person for other business owners that are listening to the episode. Like I think that's a big takeaway point is like just keep plodding on and just believe in your vision. I think but a belief in like if you envisage something and you want the business to look like X and you go, what if it looks like this in 10 years time? Follow through and deliver it because you can do anything.
Yeah,
that is the biggest thing that I think some people think it's cringe-worthy. Like, oh, you can do anything. You can.
You can, 100%.
You literally can. Like,
people are. They're out there.
You started selling on eBay.
You're correct, yeah.
And now you're running an 8-figure business.
Yeah.
Like that is a phenomenal story. Similar to me, like you, like joining a family business, turning over what now we turn over in a day.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic.
It's like, how do you do that? Like if I could put my arm around myself and go, Matt, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have happened a little bit quicker.
I think 100% true. Reflecting on what you know now.
Yeah.
It would be for me. It would be just get on with it. Right.
Yeah.
Stop procrastinating and thinking, oh, what if? Like you were saying there earlier, doubting yourself. Because I was so new to the game and wet behind the ears. Like it was like, oh God, am I doing the right thing? Just get on with it and do it.
Perseverance and belief in yourself.
Yeah. And, a few knockbacks, so what? Like, what does it matter? You just need to be resilient, get your head down, work hard. You're not going anywhere without that, ultimately. And just keep going. And, as you were talking about, a few minutes ago there, like the progression that can happen, it is just think bigger. Like, I remember when, like saying, first started out selling on eBay, and I was looking at other businesses. I was thinking, oh my God, if we just get to doing like £1 million in a year, that'd be it. That'd be the dream. But you get there, you surpass that, and then you go to the next level. You think, oh, get to 3 million. Let's do 3 million, and my life will be sorted. You hit that through that barrier, and you realise it's not as good, or it's not what you thought it would be, and right, well, then the way to go is grow, go further.
Yeah.
And that's what I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm excited for where our business is at, and I can now see now we're, the level of turnover we're at. Like, there's no reason we can't double it. Yeah. Like, it's just keep doing more of the things that are bloody working, and you just double down on them.
Yeah, I think that having that chat with yourself, I really like James. Follow Black Lab Digital on LinkedIn. Reach out to James Starkey. Really good guy, really honest, friendly chap. I'm sure he'd be willing to talk to people about why he asked these questions. So spam his DMs, fill them with
full of love, full of love,
yeah, full of love and a bit of hate.
Yeah,
no, James is a good guy. A lot of great people called James.
Yeah, well,
your brother being one
my
of them.
brother's one. Yeah,
my middle name is James.
Oh, is it real? Oh, there we go. I wonder why you said this now. Yeah.
Oh, there we are. It's lonely at the top. So another James Starkey kind of questions. It's lonely at the top. As the saying goes, what do you do to lift the weight? Do you work with mentors or other business people?
Mm-hmm. Good question. What do you do, Matt?
I spend a lot of time consuming other people's content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like this Richard Harpin guy, this billionaire.
Home serve guy.
Yeah. So he's set up an organisation called Business Leader in the UK. It's for businesses that are over 7 figures in size. So you've got to be doing over £1 million turnover. And he's been like, he's a British entrepreneur. But I went down to one of his events. Mm-hmm. So he sold HomeServe for $4 billion and he owned X percentage of it. He invited a load of entrepreneurs to his house.
Yeah.
Which I thought was
what
like,
a guy.
What a guy. So I've been to a billionaire's house in London.
How did that feel when you walked in that door?
Intimidating.
Was it?
Yeah. Because I'm not a showy person. I'm not into like, and I think like he is not that either. He's very humble, very, very kind of like, very slow and steady, but very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Which are two opposite things.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But I think it's an incredible combination to be calm.
He's probably learned that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm not going to say I see his traits in myself, but I can see a little bit of my growth on that, where I've become calmer. I was very erratic.
Yeah.
But I think, he's someone that I listen to now a lot. Like he's not got a very big following. Like,
Has he got a podcast?
He's not got. Well, Business Leader,
Yeah.
which is this business networking organisation that he's bought, that has a podcast, and you've got to pay to be a member.
Okay, yeah.
It's worth having a look at the website. They do events and stuff. So if you're doing over £1 million turnover, you can go and check it out. But that'll probably alienate most of our audience because. There's other events you can go to. I think you've got to find you want to spend time with people that are a similar size to you or bigger, ideally, so that you can aspire to grow.
Yeah.
But we both consume James Sinclair's content. This Richard Harpin I follow, like Joseph Valentine on Instagram. I think he's hilarious.
Right. Okay. Need to check this out.
But he's a bit more of that showy kind of thing, which isn't really what I'm about.
No.
But I find him quite interesting because he's like an apprentice. What's his face? His apprenticeship. What's the
Alan Sugar.
Alan Sugar's apprentice.
Yeah.
He won it in 2017. He's a very controversial character.
Yeah.
Joseph Valentine. But yeah, I think consuming other people's content and kind of listening to perspectives on business, I think that's really, really important. And to go back to, it's lonely at the top. So I think what James is asking about there is like, how do you be comfortable being lonely?
Yeah.
Like, because your team can't relate to your job role.
No.
Like if you're managing director, CEO or founder of your business, it's very difficult like for people to relate to that. And actually people on the podcast listening to this will be able to relate. But yeah, I think you just got to spend time with other business owners, basically.
100%. That would be my advice. Like anyone listening and watching to this, that's what we have done together. I would say, like, we spend quite a bit of time together. Obviously running similar businesses. But then it's going to these other networking events and networking with other business owners, regardless of size and scale. You can learn a lot from anyone going through that.
What I'd love to do one day with this podcast is create a bit of a community off the back of it.
Yeah.
Like a Facebook group or maybe like a WhatsApp group for certain people, and have it as free, just kind of like allow to create a bit of a community off the back of it. So people that find what we're talking about interesting can spend time talking to each other, maybe do meetups and stuff like that, meet for a coffee and stuff like that in Manchester or what have you.
Well up for that.
Or in London. I think spending time with other entrepreneurs and business owners makes it not lonely.
No.
It's lonely if you don't speak to anyone.
Yeah. Inside your four walls of your office. At least if you're getting out there and speaking to other business owners, you'll be able to help them with some of their challenges, and they'll also equally be able to shine some light on anything that you're struggling with right now.
And then James has asked, what's your attitude to risk? Sometimes you've got to take a jump sometimes you've got to take a jump. Without it, you won't develop further. So how do you weigh up these options? Well,
big question.
Episode 6.
Episode 6. There we go.
Thanks for that, James Starkey. Appreciate it. So, like, if anyone else as well has got questions that you think it'd be good to put to me and Tom, please chuck them in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify, or just send us a DM on either my Instagram or my LinkedIn, and Tom's Instagram or LinkedIn as well. So today's episode, we're going to go into risk, failure and decisions that keep you up at night, which is a really meaty topic. So the nature of risk, why it's unavoidable in business. So I think I'll just kind of intro the topic really here. My opinion on that is that it is completely unavoidable. Like, you as a business owner are going to have to get used to taking risks. Like 100%. Morgan he's set up his podcast studio. We're one of his clients, one of his customers. Looking around the room, which the cameras obviously can't see because they are the cameras, the audience can't see it, there's a lot of kit in here.
There is. There is a lot of investment in
Morgan has taken a bit of a punt. And he's probably, to be fair to him, over time collected some of these bits and pieces. Like, he's got a bit of a background at Disney. He's got a lot of technical experience and knowledge, but he's taken a risk. He's bought equipment and kind of rolled it forward, and things have been, I would imagine, difficult for him. So Morgan, from your perspective, from a risk side of things, how do you feel like, from a sole trader perspective, risk is felt?
I think there's a lot of there's a lot of merit in actually buying the equipment. I think it makes you more valuable, as a service provider, because you are, as I suppose, as good as your skill, but then and then that skill can be enhanced by the equipment you've got. In terms of kind of investment in the studio and everything, yeah, I mean, I was using a single camera for a very long time to produce a lot of my kind of corporate video work, and then when I decided to kind of make the leap, I jumped in with a second camera. I bought the microphones, and I'd already got some of the lighting, but I was like, you know what, I can justify getting all this equipment because I can see that I've got a couple of people that are interested, and so it was a case of taking a jump. But I think one of the things I would say with any risk in business, and people suggest this with e-commerce as well, is find out that you've got a little bit of demand before you spend all the money.
That's interesting. So almost like what's his name? When we went to the business masterclass for James St. Clair, he had someone on stage that talks about creating like a waiting list.
Yeah.
Daniel Priestley.
Yeah, Daniel Priestley, like his content's phenomenal. If anyone's listening and doesn't know who Daniel Priestley is, check him out. He does like a weekly call that you can sit in on.
Oh, right.
And he like just talks about a topic. He basically delivers a session every week that's the same session, but it's not a recording, it's him delivering it. But he talks about what Morgan's just said there about testing demand and how it's really important to kind of like survey almost. So if you're thinking of bringing a product to market, you want to like work out, is there anyone out there that's interested in that? So what Morgan's saying is, prior to purchasing and doing the big capital purchase, he kind of built the framework out. So what he's doing there is he's very, very carefully managing the risk. And it's very, I think, poignant because early on in business, you've got to be more careful with the risks because you've only got so many health points, so much cash in the bank. And it can only, every time you take a risk, it's like, right, that's going to cost me money or time. The two things that, time is more valuable than money, to be honest with you, because you can't buy it back, whereas money, you can make more money. But I think like calculating that risk early on is really important, being cautious, but you do have to take the risk.
It's inevitable.
I think as well, like it's having a buy button that when the person clicks buy, it just goes to, we're out of stock, we'll be back in stock soon. But in fact, you've never had any stock in the first place. But you know, because they just clicked that buy button, how many people are clicking buy. Like when I started the studio, I actually had one person that wanted a podcast. And so I was offering the podcast service to a single client. That started to be consistent. I started to see that it was quite feasible for me to kind of expand out, and I started to see the benefits of, you know, the repeat customers, it's so much more reliable to have, repeat business than it is to have kind of one-off.
Do you think you're a natural risk taker, Morgan? Do you
think? Absolutely, yeah. I think it's unnatural to not take risks.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? Are you a natural risk taker?
100%, I would say, risk taker.
So I think it's like almost a bit of a prerequisite to being a serial or a serious entrepreneur is someone that is willing to take risk naturally, or have a reasonable threshold for it initially. And I think it is a skill that you then develop and become better at.
Yes.
And actually, for me, I'm probably, to a certain extent, maybe partially, like if I'm to be critical of myself, a dangerous risk taker. And what the skill has been for me is to learn to control it more. To be more cautious, be more data-led, data-driven. I mean, we're very fortunate in our business because we're very data-rich in online retail. We've got access to so much data. But sometimes you've got to take a bit of a punt.
And go with your gut.
Yeah, go with the gut. That's the.
I think also when you've got data and you are, very into risk, it's very important to avoiding data. You know, you need to make sure you don't turn a blind eye to it, and you keep your eyes on it, because it's so easy to look at one piece of data and ignore 3 other pieces because it's what you want to see. And sometimes like you've got to accept, if it's not what you want to see, that might actually be the reality. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, like a business might not work and you might just need to move on to the next one. But if you can come to that conclusion and you can move on to the next one. It's just, you're just one step closer to success.
Yeah, I think it's reps and sets with risks and business in general, like to reach that successful point, depending on how you measure success, because the measurement of success can vary depending on your perspective and what your life goals are and what have you, but risks lead to success. So you've got, I think, to bring it back in on the subject, like risk, failure and decisions, like Morgan's touched on there about failure and how you might try a business, it not work, pivot onto the next business, it might not work. You might do it 7 or 8 times, and then on the 8th attempt, I think it's like, is it J.K. Rowling when the Harry Potter books? Like, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, like an avid fan. My wife is obsessive over it. She loves Harry Potter and the series. Like, it is good, but like she created something that is like fantastic. But she went to like however many publishers, like before, got knocked back by them all, and then eventually she got the opportunity, and then things went. But that's really interesting thing with writing is that you produce something, and from the perspective, it's like it's finished.
Yes,
she's done it. Like she's done the first 3 books or 2 books, and then she's taken it to someone. She's not tweaking it or editing it. It's like it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, so she had that belief in herself. She was taking the risk, and the risk for her was like she was ploughing on, not really being able to work full time while she was persevering with it. And it's hard. This entrepreneurial or like believing in yourself and like taking the risks it's not easy, and you can get your confidence knocked as well.
Yeah,
I think that's a big challenge that you face. I mean, how have your views altered from when you first got into business and started off your career, being self-employed effectively, versus today? Do you see an evolution in that for yourself?
Yeah, very much so. I think when I first got into business, I didn't have a plan B as such, or the plan B was go and find employment somewhere if it didn't work. So to me, it wasn't really a risk. It was very much like, well, let's give this everything I've got, basically. But yeah, as we said earlier, when you're getting into the stage where you've established something and it is working, and you begin to take a few more risks and try different products, or developing different things within your business, and a few things don't work, as long as that doesn't wipe you out, you just learn from it.
Well, on that, I think like a really great analogy is like thinking about it as like a game of poker.
Yeah.
So you've got your hand that you've been dealt, and they're the conditions that you face. You've got the chips that you start with.
Yeah.
And I think early on you can afford to go all in.
Yeah.
Because you can then have another game.
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, go again.
Like it's the 1-way, 2-way door kind of thing. Like those early risks that you take. Well, you can, because of limited liability and limited companies, you can take risks. And you've then got you lose time. But do you lose the time because you're learning?
Yeah.
And it's as you go on that entrepreneurial journey, your chips grow.
Yeah.
If you've taken small risks and then you've seen a reward, take a small risk, seen a reward. But now, like where we are, it's about protecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
protecting what you've got.
So like, say we've got 100 chips on our little poker thing, and I'm looking at yours, and you've got 130, and I'm trying to weigh up you as my competitor. It's like right. Yeah. Oh, he's overstepped himself there.
A few more bad hands, he's
out.
out.
I'm going to call his bluff.
Yeah.
Like, and I think a good entrepreneur becomes cautious over time.
Yeah.
There's someone that learns from failure and mistakes, through burning their hands and like losing limbs.
Yeah, life experience.
Yeah, life experience, like that business experience. But I think the analogy of like a game of poker and the chips, and like you can go all in, but boy, do you have to believe in yourself.
100%, yeah. I'm pretty sure, like yourself, as you just said there, and within our business, we would not risk it all now as to where we are, because we've got like 20 odd staff. We've got commitments with contracts with other companies, leases.
You've got kids.
You've got children. Yeah, I mean, good God, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
shout out to Poppy as well. Yeah. Shout out to Poppy.
Yeah.
How old's Poppy?
Poppy is 6.
Oh, bless her.
Bless her. She is a little superstar. And obviously I've got Max as well, so he's 8.
Yeah, and it's like I've got Arthur who's 6 and Matilda who's 4.
Yeah.
So when we get to that stage in our lives, like you can't risk it all.
No, it's a different level of responsibility that. Like if everything went for me before children, it would have been painful. It would have been, because I would have lost everything I've worked with or for 10 years. But so what? I could just go again, because I've got the other asset, which is not necessarily the finance or the money to go again, but I've got the knowledge. I know exactly what to do, and I know where I went wrong, and I just would not make that mistake again.
No, exactly.
But when you have children, it's a whole nother level of responsibility, and everything's for them ultimately at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, I'm sure what you're doing now.
I'm definitely like, I'm not risk averse. I want to take more risks and push myself, but it's about looking at that the cash in the business or the wealth in the business and going, right, well, what proportion of this wealth can I risk?
Yeah.
What can I put on red?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably wouldn't be. I mean, well, actually, when you look at roulette, and I'm not a gambler, just to be very clear, but I just think it's a really good analogy for risk from a probability perspective. But a roulette table, you've got red and black, and then you've got the numbers.
Yeah.
Like, the numbers are risky.
Yeah. But there's the reward.
But if you go in for something where it's like 50-50, or if you're backing a couple of horses in the race, like you want to almost cheat the game, and you can cheat the probability with data.
Yes.
Data is very predictable. You can model data. You can do cash flow projections. So it's about trying to navigate those things. I think that's really important. Why do you think most, because this is a pretty alarming statistic, I don't know the exact percentage, but most businesses fail.
Yeah, it's a crazy stat. That,
we'll check in on that. In fact, if you know the answer, because you've Googled it, can you put it in the comments and then we'll pin it to the top comment.
Then we'll fact check it.
Yeah, we'll fact check you as well.
And then if it's correct, you get £100 Holland's gift card.
No. Haven't you 85?
Yeah, okay, 50-50, £50.
We'll go 50-50, yeah. So, sorry, what was I saying?
The crazy stat on business failing after a number of years.
Like, most businesses fail. Like, why do you think that is?
I think bottom line is it's bloody hard, isn't it? I think that's the reason. And I think some people go into it thinking, I want to be my own boss. It'll be easy, it'll be, I can make that money and I can make it work. Yeah. And ultimately, you get hit hard and you think, oh my God, like this isn't for me. It's easier to go find.
I think it links in nicely to resilience.
Yeah,
the conversation about risk. You've got to get back up. If you've been hit hard and knocked down, you've got to get back up, and you've got to get back on the horse and give it another go. Like you can't. Like ultimately, failure is never permanent. Failure is only permanent if you allow it to be.
Yeah, it's just a lesson.
Failure is just a lesson. 100%. So, like. That's kind of talked around the nature of risk and like our kind of thoughts on that. Like with the other big ones like one-way, two-way doors. Like think about like Jeff Bezos's analogy there of like if you're taking a risk, is it a one-way door or a two-way door?
Yeah.
If it's a one-way door, you've got to be very careful.
Yeah, you've got to be 100% sure.
And we touched on that in one of the earlier episodes. If it's a two-way door, we'll work out how many two-way doors you can walk through before you've risked everything, because you can't walk through 10 at the same time.
Absolutely not.
You've got to be cautious and methodical in your approach there. What would you say is one of the most stressful decisions or risks that you've taken? You might not be able to give specifics, but would you say it's, I think in the early days for me, I'll just dovetail off myself, is like one of the most stressful risks that we took was like pivoting in the business in the early days. We were doing like country shows and markets, which was our traditional business model, and going all in on online. Big risk.
Yeah.
Because we had that cash flow from the going to the country shows and the markets.
Yeah, that was safe. You knew.
Comfortable. Yeah. Like, is there anything that you look back on now, like in the early days in particular, where you go? I mean, maybe joining up with your brother. I don't know. Like, was that?
Yeah. Because we were two separate businesses up until 2017, March 2017, when we came together. To be honest with you, looking at that, even then, how I felt then and how I do feel now, I didn't really see that as a risk. I mean, a lot of people around me were saying, "Oh, you're gonna, you've got your own independent business here, and you're doing okay. Like, why don't you just focus on that and grow that further?" But I just knew at the time. I looked at what James was doing, what I was doing. I could see the synergy with different types of people, different
strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. And he was much better at the things that I can identify within myself where I was weak. I thought, you know what? And he's my brother. Like, I 100% trust him. But But it was the people on the outside. The feedback was, "Oh, don't work with your brother. What if it all goes wrong?" But when we were younger, we used to fight like mad. When we were teenagers and things. But as you get older, I could just identify that as an obvious thing, an obvious risk.
Yeah.
Where it definitely wasn't a one-way door.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't going to lose everything because worst case scenario, we
Just
separate the two companies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I wouldn't really say that. Big risk in our business. We made the move in 2020, where we were just pretty much out and out. Well, 2019, out and out buying end of line clearance products.
Yeah,
with a great network of supply all across UK, Europe. Distribution was good. We knew margins were healthy within that industry at that time. But looking long term, I don't think we really thought there was longevity in that because it was feast or famine, which is when we made the move over to buying direct from brand and just stopping buying clearance completely and going selling through our own channel. That was probably a risk where we thought, oh God, I mean, we've got great relationships with these suppliers. We're going to stop spending a lot of money with them. It's going to be very difficult to get back in to the level of supply we were getting from them at the time. So that would have been a big risk. Ultimately, it's been the right decision for us.
Those points there about like your and James's partnership, like family businesses, that's like a big challenge, a big risk as well. Like it's not straightforward. But like actually, I think like working with your family is like it's so rewarding and fantastic. Like I love working with Sarah and Robert. Like I'm so fortunate to be able to do it. But it is a risk. It's like those questions when you partner up with someone or you're setting off in business. It's like whether or not things do work or not, or the challenges that you face. I think like one of the big things, like we talked about like risk and like why we've talked around the topic. How do you find handling failure in relation to risk? Like, how do you personally deal with that?
Yeah. Any failure is hard, I think, but obviously along the journey, you're going to experience it multiple times. And it's just a lesson at the end of the day. It's feedback that you made the wrong decision. So take it on board. Understand why did it fail, I think, is a key point. Think, okay, made that decision. Wasn't quite right, didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. Just analyse it. Why not? Was it something else? Was it an outside factor? Was it just the wrong decision? And then build on that and go again. But just get used to it.
Yeah. Get
used to things not working and not going right.
Yeah. ChatGPT chucked out the punch in the gut.
Yeah. Well, that is very much true.
That old liver shot.
Yeah. You know what? Just learn to enjoy it. Like, as long as it's not like night, just keep going.
Yeah. I think that's it. Like that acceptance of failure. Like, I think the first time you hit your first big failure, it is like,
it feels horrible. You lose sleep. You think, oh my God, why?
Really challenging. But then I think when you get used to trying and it not working and trying and it does work, and like maybe it's partnerships with other third party businesses, like, and say it's an agency or something like that, you give it a go. Oh, this hasn't worked. It's like I pushed that to my family and like I said we should do this and it's not worked. But then what your business partners and your team learn is like, well, actually we've got to take these risks.
Yeah.
Like so you kind of everyone gets used to those risks. It's just the key thing I think with it is managing the decisions of one-way and two-way doors, like whether or not to go through that one-way door, like that. They're the things that you need to be cautious about. And I think handling failure, it's just a case of failing a little bit, to be honest with you, and learning to go put yourself out there and deal with the consequences. I mean, another thing is like taking risks under pressure. And like, I think like decision making under pressure, like.
Well, generally, you're going to make the wrong decision if you're.
Well, I think entrepreneurs and business owners, they do need to make decisions under pressure. The probability of you making the incorrect decision under pressure is higher.
Yeah.
But it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because if if you're like, right, I'm only going to make decisions when things are feeling great. Well, when are you going to make decisions then?
Yeah, never.
It's like, and actually, like indecisiveness and not taking risks and not making decisions.
That'll kill your business anyway.
Your business is dead. If you
too
do
slow.
that. And actually, when we're talking about why do businesses fail, it's indecisiveness.
Yeah.
A lot of the time,
on too many things.
Yeah, procrastination and like not willing to commit, not willing to pivot. Like you've got to take these risks.
Yeah.
If you don't, your business you will hit the rocks pretty hard, or you'll be dragged into them through your own lack of kind of
action.
Lack of action. You've got to be decisive, I think. I think also a big skill in relation to risk and like having time pressure on the decisions is like how you stay calm under pressure. And how you stay calm under the decision-making process. Like if you're facing that fork in the road, like the more decisions and risks that you take, the more experience you get in taking the risks and the decisions.
Yeah.
So then when you're facing it under pressure, it becomes even more comfortable.
Yeah, it's second nature then, I think. I think it becomes instinctive as to what you should be doing.
Yeah, and I think instinctive, really good point, like going with your gut, listening to your gut. Listen to people that you respect, and if you're in a sole trader business, talk to people.
Yeah.
And then it's about your network. So if you're facing a one-way doorway and you want to pivot your business or you want to work with a big client and you're overextending yourself, you're going to have to buy more equipment. Say if it was Morgan and someone approached him and said, right, we want to film 10 episodes a week for the next 3 years. And it's like, well, do I want to do that? Is that the right decision for a business? I think you got to weigh all these things up. But I think trusting your gut, leaning on data, leaning on people are all really important things.
Yeah. It's a collective of those three things, I think, is key.
Yeah.
I think, analyse that data. Seek advice from other people in similar situations. But what you definitely don't want to do is ask 10 different people because you'll get 10 different answers.
Yeah,
and then you'll be confused yourself.
I think your best bet, rather than going to court and asking a number of people, is really focusing on people that you value and respect.
Are they qualified to make it?
Are they qualified, or they might not be qualified? Sometimes actually a different perspective. Someone who is underqualified but has exceptional experience, knowledge and expertise in a different area of business, that's a really good different perspective on a problem. I think that's really important. So I mean, like, risk taking is paramount in business. You've got to do it. I think people that shy away from risk and hide and go, well, let's not take any risks, they stagnate. They'll die off because your competitors are risk takers.
Yeah, and they'll shoot past you.
Yeah, and they'll shoot past you. Like, if you're a pub and you're not willing to market yourself and take the risk of spending money on this when you can't afford it, like, well, you're going to get overtaken. Someone else will come along. Or if you're a restaurant and you're scared of putting your prices up, like you will carry on selling at the low margin. You'll go bust. These risks and decisions, it's very, very hard, but we've got to do it in business. If anyone listening has kind of got any thoughts on risk taking and decision making in business, like you've got any questions, chuck them in the comments on YouTube or comments on Spotify, and we'll feature them like we did with James's questions in the last couple of episodes, because he put a lot of work into constructing as they were really interesting. And just please make sure you're subscribed, you like and comment on the videos, and you're doing the same on Spotify. It really helps us, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheerio.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.